What's up, YouTube? I'm the Kakara 131, and this is my review of the Modlite PLH-V2 flashlight. So the Modlite PLH-V2, this is kind of more centered towards the handheld model, obviously, but a lot of the stuff I'm going to say about the beam and a lot of the information in general is going to be the same for the weapon mounted version as well. So Modlite, they're, from what I've seen, a fairly new company. You know, I'm a self-admitted gun guy. I do a lot of times looking at gear I'm never going to get to buy. So up until a year ago, maybe a bit before that, I'd never even heard of Modlite. So I'm pretty sure they're a fairly new company on the block, but in the short time that they've been around, they've broke out. So they have become undoubtedly one of the, arguably the best tactical flashlight on the market. So they offer several different variations of their lights. I'll roll in some pictures from their site, but this is the handheld model. They offer weapon mounted models. They have 8 full-size 18650 models. They have shorter versions that take a 18350 battery, which is the same output and everything. It's just less capacity and it's a bit smaller, more compact. They offer this version, like it says, the PLH-V2. Hopefully it's focused here, you can see that, but the PLH-V2 is sort of their more general purpose light. They offer the OKW, which is less lumens but more candela than this. Those of you that aren't aware, candela and lumens I just spoke about briefly. Quick explanation. Basically broke down the two numbers, the two classifications for flashlights and how bright they are. Lumens is the total output of a flashlight, whereas candela is how intense a flashlight beam is. Easy way to think about it, a floodlight, for instance, is going to have a whole lot of lumens, but none of the light's going to be really focused or intense. It could have like 100,000 lumens, but 5,000 candela, and it'd be a floodlight. Whole lot of output, not a whole lot of intensity. On the other hand, a spotlight, something that has a really small beam but it goes a really long way, that might have 500 lumens but 100,000 candela. That's kind of the basic breakdown of that. When you get your Modlite, it's going to show up in a pretty plain box, nothing special. It says Modlite on the front. On the front edge, it'll tell you some of the options you got. This one's the PLH-V2 head and the 18650 handheld body. Just lift it straight up. You're immediately greeted with the light itself, 2 batteries, 2 18650 3500 milliamp batteries. It's pretty convenient considering 18650s aren't exactly cheap. Underneath this, you have a little warranty card for your charger, instruction manual for your charger, and you get the night core charger. Now, this says it will charge a majority of batteries. I'll try to throw a annotation in here, but you know, 26,650, 22,650, 18,650, 18,350, RCR 123s. You have options for setting different modes on it for AA, AAA. Ton of different rechargeable batteries you can do with this thing. A couple buttons on the side. Instructions tell you how to do all that. Now, one thing I will note is your experience in this case may differ, but whenever I got these, the first night I threw them on this charger, and it said that they were pretty much dead. So I'll try to throw in a picture so you can kind of get a better visual, but whenever you put batteries in here, throw a battery in here, whenever it's plugged in, it'll light up and it'll tell you when it starts to charge. It'll have 4 bubbles on a battery icon. you know, first bubble 0 to 25, second bubble 25 to 50, and it said both of these started at 1 bubble. Install your batteries. Interestingly, you have to remove the head to do this one. Positive side up. Yeah, most other flashlights I've had, you have to remove the tail cap, but not this one. You have to remove the head on this one. And I'm not going to show an unboxing of it, but if you opted to get the Thyrum switchback for it, for the Modlite, all you'll need is this little rubber washer, O-ring, whatever. And that slides over this lip here. Get it down there. I'll slide this on top of that. And then this just screws in like that. That's all it takes. Now, some of the general sort of specs on this Modlite here. As I said, it comes with an 18650 3500 milliamp battery. It comes with 2 of them. That's what it runs on, though. This body is only compatible with 18650s. It does not function with CR123s. So be noted on that. Some lights are dual fuel. Surefire's big among them, but Olight's another one. Not this one. These only run on 18650s. It is 1350 lumens out the front. So it's got a pretty respectable amount of lumens just in general. But the big claim to fame for the Modlites is definitely the candela output. This one has 54,000 candela. That's a lot of candela. It gives it quite a bit of throw power. So 54,000 candela. The beam, 5700K white light, cool white light. That's what the temperature is. They list on their product page not this one specifically, the weapon mounted version, obviously, is tested on a SCAR 17, which for those of you that are unfamiliar, SCAR 17s are notorious for destroying optics and flashlights because they have a harsh recoil pattern. So these have been tested on a SCAR 17. Some sort of size comparison, I guess. Everyone knows what a PMAG looks like, how big they are. It is 5 1/4 inches long total. The head diameter is 1 3/16 of an inch. And the other important spec I found on their page is with the 18650 fully charged, it will last about 75 minutes. Looking at this real quick, you can see, hopefully it'll be focused here. Let me check the camera. Yeah, it's pretty focused. I've beat this thing up pretty good here. I'm pretty sure Modlite claims that they say these would be water rated down to like 10 meters or something like that, somewhere around there. But they don't have the equipment to test it. Either way, I believe these are IPX8 rated. I did a quick water test on it. So I don't have the access to somewhere that I can test if it is actually waterproof down to 6 meters. Unfortunately, the koi pond here only goes down to like 3.5 or 4. But we should be able to test roughly if it's waterproof or not. I'm sure it's tight and I'm not screwing it over. Works. So it is 6 o'clock. I'll come back in a while. I don't know. I'll come back eventually and check on it. Just after 7:15. Well short of the 24 hours that Modlite says they're rated for, but see if it survived. I have little doubt that it did. Yep. Shocking. Afterwards, I mean, as you saw, it held up fine. It was completely waterproof. The koi pond didn't hurt at all. But that's what I thought initially. It did actually hurt it a little bit. So what I mean is, afterwards, I noticed a little bit of condensation here inside the lens. Now, it wasn't enough to really matter. The light still worked perfectly fine, but there was a little bit of condensation inside the lens. So I tried everything I could. You know, I left it out in sunlight on the hood of my truck. It's black, so it got pretty hot. It didn't evaporate out. I put it in a bag of rice. That didn't work. So I contacted Modlite, and completely free of charge, they sent me out a tool that, hopefully it'll focus. You can see those like indentations there inside the head. I'll roll in a picture of the tool they sent me, but this is made to be removed. So put the tool in there, unscrew it, and this entire like polymer or aluminum bezel unscrews. There's a washer or O-ring, and then the lens comes out. So they sent me a new lens and the tool to remove it, which is very good customer service. So the water test, I'm going to give it a pass. The condensation on the side of the lens didn't affect it at all. Next up, beam comparison. All right, so the target you're seeing down there is at about 30-ish yards away, around about, give or take a couple yards. And this is the Modlite PLH-V2 that we're seeing right now. As you can see, that candela is really coming in big. It's almost washing out that target. It would be different if he was wearing darker clothing or something, but very defined edges. But it still has a pretty decent spill. And let's switch over to the Surefire M600 dual fuel, which is, you can tell that has a similar amount of lumens, but not quite as much candela, obviously. Not near as much candela. It's more not as focused. The target, you can still see it pretty clearly, but it's not as clearly illuminated versus the Modlite over here on the left. I mean, you can very clearly see the Modlite has a much brighter hotspot, and it's going to be able to go a lot farther. Alright, so now one more light I want to compare this to. This Modlite has become my new EDC light, so let's compare it to my old everyday carry light, which is the Surefire Tactician. And this is the Tactician. So the camera is making it a bit brighter, I think, because the light is hitting on this tree right in front of us. But it has a really good amount of spill, which is what the Tactician was really made for. Even though it's totally off screen, you can see how much is still illuminating everything. But there's just, I mean, no comparison as far as intensity. All right, so just so we can have sort of a more long-range test here, that target you're seeing down there is about 100 yards away, give or take 10 or so. And this is the Modlite PLH-V2. The battery should be pretty much topped off. It's pretty close. I'd say the video makes it a little bit brighter than what it is, but in real life, I can still easily identify that it's a person. It looks like he's holding something, but it's hard to identify what it is. Not any fault of the flashlight, though. I'm thinking that's just because it's, you know, 100 yards away and you're looking at something that small. All right, so let's get rid of the Modlite. Cut in here, I got the Surefire Tactician, if I can get it to stay on. Surefire Tactician, this is my previous EDC light. And, I mean, as you can see, this comes across real well in the video. You can't tell, like, anything. I can barely even tell that there's a person down there. And that just goes to show the Tactician isn't made for any kind of long-distance identification. The Tactician, it only has, I think Surefire lists it as like 3,200 candela and 800 lumens. It's not made for any kind of long-range identification. You can tell very clearly like that. So Tactician you're seeing versus the Modlite, it's not even a comparison. And the one you're looking at right now is the M600 dual fuel, about 16-ish thousand candela, about 1,500 lumens. This one's a bit better than the Tactician, but it's, I mean, still, I'll roll in a side by side. It's not even freaking close. I can, with the M600 dual fuel, with this one, I can tell there's a person there, but I can't identify any kind of details about him. Well, I do really like the beam. I like the fact that for handheld use, if you ever had some kind of a sketchy encounter with someone, you know, they were getting a little too close on you, you could, you know, give them some verbal commands to back off. They didn't. Flash them. It's bright enough that if you get someone in the eyes, it'll cause them to, at least for like a second, half second, kind of stutter, flash back a little bit. It'll give you that tiny little bit of reaction time to do something in case something does pop off. Finally, durability testing. So I did the Traxxas test on it, which is a test I came up with myself. I'm very proud of it. It's very simple test. I tie whatever I'm reviewing to the back of my Traxxas Stampede, which is a RC truck, but it's a pretty expensive hobby grade RC truck. This isn't like a little kid RC truck. The model I have will get over 35 miles per hour. I'm planning on upgrading to one that'll get over 60 soon. So it can be a pretty intense test. I go to a gravel range a lot. The range is basically just 50 yards of gravel. Tie this up, drag it around behind it, back and forth for a total a couple hundred yards, and see how it does. Don't have to work hard to figure out if it still works. Normally I probably would have done it a little bit longer, but I'm getting tired of having to untangle it. So, scratched up, knocked around. So it passed the Traxxas test, perfectly fine. Now, we get into the part that really shocked me, the drop testing. Oh, that was not expected. Okay, so second drop. Let's see. Oh. Oh, hey, wait. Okay. So if I unscrew it, it'll turn back on. The fuck? Might have something to do with that. You know, just a little bit. We're back up for now. Yeah, we're having some troubles here. Once again, if I screw this all the way in, it turns off. If I back it off a little bit, it'll turn on. Back up though. Let's try bezel down. Gonna be the same thing. I thought it would be the same thing. Oh yeah. I'm thinking that's the problem there, yeah. So drop testing is definitely screwing this up pretty good. I'm pretty sure this battery's fucked. So yeah. I gotta give a fail to the Modlite handheld PLH-V2 for a drop test. Now, is that the end of the world? I would say no. Everything considered, you know, it's not very likely that you're gonna be in a fight or something and something's gonna happen. You're gonna be like, it's not just gonna fall straight down, you know? Now, the reason it failed, I think, in my opinion, the reason it failed is because there's a bit of rattle in here whenever with the battery. I'm putting this right next to the mic here. Hopefully it'll come across. If it's not coming across, just take my word for it. Whenever you rattle this, you can hear a little bit of a rattle on the inside. And as near as I can tell, that's from the battery. There's no battery jack in it. There's nothing to keep it pressed firmly in place except for the springs. Now, gonna touch real quickly on the switchback here. This is the switchback 2.0. Made of a polymer, has a breakaway feature. So if your finger was in it and it got caught, eventually it would break away. Now, I like it. It's kind of annoying in a couple features. I like it because I like holding it like this. You know, you can identify anything you need to, use it like a normal handheld light. If you need to, you can drop it, put it out of the way if you're working on something. If you have a flashlight, if you have a gun, you can flash it around. And I think you might have just saw right there. This is one of the things I don't like about it. Unless you practice with it a lot, or I'm doing something wrong, I can't tell. It is not always going to flip around perfectly to sit on your finger right. It did that time. But other times, whenever you try and flip it around, it will land too high up on your finger. And it will not, your finger will not be able to push that tail cap in. So, that's one thing I don't like about it. I don't like the fact that the clip and then the ring are perfectly in line. What it means is, if you carry this in your pants pocket, for one, most of the time when you have a flashlight or a knife or something, this belt clip sticks straight out. It doesn't work like that with this, because then this will just be sticking into you. You have to cant it, which means it's going to twist up your pants a little bit. Not the end of the world. The bigger problem is, if you carry this in a pants pocket, depending on the kind of pants you wear, it can be a bitch to get your hand in around it. It's scraping on your hand. It's making it harder to get back in the bottom of your pants. If you have deeper pockets, you have to scrape it up even more, because this is just sitting, you know, sticking inch and a half into your pocket space. Kind of a nitpick, but it is annoying at the same time. The pocket clip, though, it's very stiff. You don't have to worry about this coming out at all. So, final thoughts, wrap up, pros and cons. I like the beam. I do like the switchback. It has some annoying features, but I do like the switchback. I like the options that it has. Modlite themselves has a lot of options, but a lot of the stuff for Surefire lights work too. These heads, all the Modlite heads are backwards compatible with Surefire M600 dual fuels. Swap that head out with one of these, and it's great. It works fine. So I do like the options that it has. I like the tail cap. I was originally worried about it being a clicky tail cap. I normally like a momentary only, but if you put your entire thumb on it, it's really hard. You have to push all the way in to click it on permanently, so it hasn't been a big deal to me. I do like the light. Some things I don't like about it. The big one is the price. This costs, I'm pretty sure it was $309. It's an expensive light. Other things I don't like about it. The drop test. I'm surprised as fuck that it failed the drop test. I expected this 100% to pass more. I have tried a couple of drop tests on other lights, and they passed. I'm reviewing a light here. You should be coming out soonish, and it costs pretty much a third the price of this, and it passed the same tests. So you can imagine my surprise that this mod light failed the drop test. It's really disappointing. But other than that, I don't really have a whole lot of cons for it. All in all, I think I do like it. I mean, it is my everyday carry for the most part. Whenever I can carry it, it is. So definitely, if you're in the market for a tactical flashlight of any sort, handheld or weapon mounted, definitely give Modlite a look. Check them out. I'm the Car 131, signing off.